Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So now, without any further ado, it's the man with the plan to put gold in your hand, Tony Hammock.
Good morning, Southwest Missouri and Acts Media Viewerland.
Good morning.
If you're in Southwest Missouri, you know it is absolutely gorgeous out there, and if you're not, you need to come visit us because it's pretty neat outside. Not a cloud in the sky, blue skies, and we are so excited. We've got a great show scheduled for this morning, and a couple different little twists. We're going to have a call-in visitor at 9:30. And I think you'll find her very, very interesting. But what we're going to do to kind of mix things up a little bit is Mr. Asa here is going to do a show on
Generation Z and why you should invest in gold and silver.
Yes. So without any further ado, take it away, Mr. Asa.
Well, I appreciate that. So, Generation Z has been, hitting the media quite a bit in the last few weeks, especially with all the things that are going on online, especially in terms of social media. But something that people don't really consider of the younger generations is what they should be doing with investments. People usually think of Generation Z as kids and such, but it's worth noting that a number of people in Generation Z are getting older and older and are starting to really needing to worry about these things. I, for instance, am in Generation Z, and I'm a college student. I'm needing to worry about my finances. I mean, that's how we are in this situation right now. And a number of people in this younger generation really should be considering where they want to go with their financial wherewithal. After all, as we keep saying on the show, it's an unpredictable time, and it's important that especially the people of the youngest generations know that they have somewhere stable to go off of financially, because they're the ones that are hopefully going to be around the longest. So there's a number of reasons why many researchers find that people of younger generations should actually be investing in gold and silver more than others in many cases. For instance, the United States Gold Bureau lists 5 reasons why they say millennials should invest in gold in 2017. And now that it's 2020, this list is much more updated and much more accurate for why Gen Zers should be investing. So let's go down their 5 reasons today, and we'll kind of, shoot our own insight into each of these reasons and talk about why Gen Z has such lucrative reasons to be investing in gold and silver. So the first reason they give is that gold offers more bang for the buck. So obviously investments can get dicey, right, Tony?
Yes, correct.
Stocks and bonds and such are really unpredictable this time.
A lot of volatility.
Indeed. And we see the market is almost dropping and rising and dropping, and even especially dropping in very bombastic and shocking amounts seemingly every day in this troubling economic times when things are unpredictable. But as the market becomes unpredictable, you tell me, Tony, that gold and silver tend to fight the market. They tend to have an inverse correlation, that when the market drops, gold and silver rise.
Correct. A lot of people look at gold and silver as safe havens. So when things get scary for whatever reason and stuff, they just find more comfort in having some gold and silver in their portfolio.
Absolutely. And so because you can always, gold and silver will always have their value. They're never going to completely lose their value. There's some bonds and stocks and stuff that you really can't count on. Some of the junk bonds have become worth literally zero in a matter of days, whereas gold and silver, I'll get into in a second, but will always have a demand, will always have a price, and therefore will always be a wise investment and will always actually carry value. But the key there is that as the market continues to be unpredictable and as the economy starts to take a hit, as the market takes a hit, the gold and silver investments not only stay well, but they actually go against it, and they actually have, as I said, that inverse correlation that we've been talking about. They actually are shown to have an increased benefit and actually be more lucrative as the market continues to drop.
Well, let me throw something in there. That's why in March it was so weird, because when the stock market that is, had the big sell-off, everybody was thinking gold was going to go straight up, because it usually does. And there was a day or two where gold went down, drastically, just like the market. And everybody was kind of scratching their heads and stuff. And then what they realized was a lot of these big institutions and these large net worth investors have gold, but they also have a lot of their stocks on margin, which is where they borrow money to buy stocks. And what was happening was they were getting margin calls, and the firm, whatever brokerage firm their securities are at, was just literally going through and selling anything to raise cash. And there's always an open bid on gold. So guess what got sold a lot was gold. So even though it should have gone up, there was such a amount being sold to meet the margin calls and stuff. We actually had a day or two where the gold went down when normally, you know, common sense would have said, geez, that should have gone up. So it was just kind of a weird anomaly.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I should stipulate it tends to have an inverse relation. It will not always have an inverse relation. Which brings us to our second reason that the U.S. Gold Bureau brings up, is that gold is, they say, almost inflation-proof. And this is an interesting point because they have to stipulate almost because, after all, they have to like abide by true guidelines. But what is usually seen is it has the opposite correlation usually. In fact, usually it fights against inflation and becomes more valuable as time goes on and not less valuable. So, Tony, we always bring up that 1965 Ford Mustang example, right? Do you want to give a quick rundown of what that is?
Well, yeah, it's one of my favorite stories. Is in 1965, Ford came out with the original Mustang. Actually, it was 64 and a half was the first one. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It was Lee Iacocca's baby to save Ford. And so it was a real exciting new car that cost $2,500. And so if you were one of the folks that wanted to buy one back in 1965, if you had $2,500 or 2,500 ounces of silver, because it just so happens in 65 an ounce of silver was $1. You could have gone in and paid for your new Mustang with either the silver or the dollars. Well, let's fast forward to today. If you went into a Ford dealership with $2,500, how far do you think you'd get? You sure wouldn't be buying a new Ford Mustang. So I don't even know if you'd be able to get much off the car, maybe a couple wheels and tires or something like that. Probably a few chuckles from the salesman and that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, if you went into that same dealership with 2,500 ounces of silver, you'd be able to buy two, which I think speaks volumes about how neat it is to have silver or gold, in this case silver, because, you know, in the same time period where the dollar took such a hit, you know, silver has done quite well. In fact, I just saw the other day a brand new Ford Mustang Mach 1 is like $26,000. So you probably couldn't get two of those. But if you got the Ford Mustang with the 6-cylinder and the cloth interior and, you know, that kind of stuff, you could probably get two of them. So anyway.
That's fantastic and fascinating. And of course, you can always tell that he's a car guy. And you know the bit about the year being a little bit off.
Oh,
and
yeah.
such.
Yeah,
of course, you would know that, though.
That's me.
Yeah. So that's a great example of how, as you know, time goes on, the dollar becomes worth less. Like the dollar buys you less in terms of talking about cars here, whereas gold and silver actually becomes worth more. They inflate the opposite direction. They tend to, at least. In terms of making it more valuable for like more bang for your buck, essentially, just like we talked about with the first point. It's also a great way to ensure wealth for future generations. So we keep talking about sound money, and what it means to be sound money is investments that you can really count on, investments that will continue to grow and don't have really too much risk associated with them. So this is really important if you are a parent of a Gen Z child, for instance, that if you want to continue to make sure that they are, set up later in life, or that they have finances that they can count on, and you want to carry your wealth through. That's a great way to do it, even if it's just a little bit of small investment, because not only will that investment usually grow, but you know that it'll stay there. You know you can count on it. Whereas if you transfer your wealth in terms of paper money, such as stocks or bonds and such, or even if you just keep it in an account and try and accrue interest, you have no guarantee that the number in your bank account, the paper money, will be worth as much as you think it is right now. So the third reason they provide is that it's never too early to think about retirement. And I kind of jump back when I hear this, because I personally don't really think about my retirement that much. I mean, I even live with somebody that is constantly reminding other people about their retirement options, and I personally try and mute myself.
Peggy Williams.
Yeah, I personally.
Sorry about
No, it's cool. I was like, I thought our phone interview was already happening, and I was already out of time, so a little worried there for a second. But yeah, so usually I don't like to think about that kind of thing, and I've been trying to tune them out. But it is something to think about. But whether or not you're thinking about retirement or not, it's always important to be thinking about the finances that you'll have in 10 or 20 years. I'm not going to be retired in 10 or 20 years, but that doesn't mean I don't want to be financially stable and such. So well, maybe not me because I wasn't old enough, but Tony here for sure, and many people around
Careful.
the world. So you're going to say you did not make the $1.2 million mistake.
Well, if that's the direction you're going, I sure wish I had known about what we're going to talk about back in 1986.
You want to tell them about the $1.2 million mistake?
Yeah, well, what's neat is this is a U.S. what they call a silver eagle. That's a silver dollar, 1 ounce of silver, obviously in this particular format. It's an MS-70, which means Mint State 70. It's the highest quality you can get. There's no blemishes or anything on this coin. And as you can see, it's hermetically sealed in this nice little plastic case with some notes up there and stuff. This happens to be one of the 50 state series, state 5 of 50, it's New York. But anyway, without getting off too far in the weeds on that, they started offering these coins back in 1986. It was kind of a joint effort by the Mint and the Treasury and so forth to help Americans save and whatnot. And so if you had the very first coin that came out, each month, one a month, bought one of these Silver Eagles through June 1st of this year, you'd have approximately 410. I mean, I might be off one or two. I don't have my notes here in front of me or anything like that, but I've talked about this so much, I'm pretty close. And if you had done that, you'd have a portfolio of 410 Silver Eagles, right? Dated. All 12 from 86, all 12 from 87, and so forth. They would total up to a value of over 1.2 million. And I know that sounds hard to believe. I've actually gone and checked all the different pricing that's out there, and excuse me, it's absolutely right on target. And what's amazing is each year they seem to have different values as time goes by. So you never know which one is going to appreciate the most. So that's why it makes sense to just every month get one and stuff. Like, for example, the 1996 ones, they're over $6,000 a piece. See you, Jason. And the 1999 ones are over $19,000 a piece. So think about it. Of the 1.2 million, you've got 240,000 that are just if you had the 12 1999 ones. So it just makes sense since when no one can predict the future, let's just do, buy the one a month and stuff. And your total cost, by the way, would be right around 50 grand. So if you totaled up all those sales and what you had to pay to get the coin, you've got 50 grand invested to have a value of 1.2 million. That's not bad in my book.
I'm not a mathematician, but I think that's a pretty good profit.
Yeah, and also, fairly liquid. In other words, there's folks out there that would give you those dollars pretty quick for that kind of a collection. Anyway, sorry to ramble.
So you said it was about 34 years between 1986 and 2020, which is now?
I guess so.
Interesting. So in 34 years, that would make me 53. And I tell you what, I definitely would have no problem with having $1.2 million when I'm 53.
Well, more important, something you were kind of getting into there is if you're a parent and watching this, think about it. If you had a 1-year-old and thought it might be kind of neat that when they hit 35, they had some kind of a nest egg. I mean, past performance is not indicative of a future performance. We've got to make that disclaimer. But with that said, you're talking about silver, you're talking about a collectible, you're talking about Silver Eagles put out by the U.S., Mint and stuff. So, there'd be a good chance that they'd have a hefty sum. And what better way to have somebody, get a shot in the arm at that point than to have, several dollars set aside in Silver Eagles.
Absolutely. And, it's not like you need to necessarily, as I was saying, when I'm 53, I'm 53, right?
I'll still be around.
Yeah. Oh, hope not. Okay. Regardless, when I'm 53, I mean, I may not want to retire.
I will haunt you.
Yes. Wait, how can you haunt me if you're alive?
Well, if I have to go.
Okay, so which is it? Hopefully, you'll haunt me with good financial investment advice. But yeah, if I have $1.2 million when I'm like 53 years old, knowing myself, I probably wouldn't want to retire. I probably could, but it opens so many more options for you. You can do so many more things. You can, do things that are for fun. You can try and invest, learn something, or you can go somewhere with your career. You can pursue what you really love as opposed to constantly having to worry about finances. I mean, this is just basic advice for why you want to have some savings. And this seems like a very easy way to do it. Like $50,000 is all it would have taken to get all those Silver Eagles, and the fact that they've added up to 1.2 million. I mean, it doesn't seem that much as you're buying each Silver Eagle, but it really adds up a lot and very quickly whenever you have all those together. Which is why I'm currently doing I'm trying to get one Silver Eagle every month, and that's why the program that we're using, 7K Metals, which makes that possible, which we'll get into in a second, is so cool though, is because it prevents us from ever making that $1.2 million mistake again.
Yes.
And then the fourth reason, and I'm going to need some of your help on this one, they give this statement, or this what is it called? Truth formula, I guess you'd call it. The United States Gold Bureau does for their fourth reason why younger generations should be investing in gold. They say that demand plus price is a wise investment. Does that tend to reign true?
Well, yeah. I mean, when you get into supply and demand, if you've got more demand than supply, you're going to drive the price of whatever it is up. Whether it be Ford Mustangs or Silver Eagles or Starbucks coffee. I mean, it's whatever it is. That's the way the little economic formula works and stuff. So, and there's just a lot of folks out there that think that as we go on here with having so much debt as a country, and as a world, really, when you look at the global debt and stuff, it's not too far off where you may see a situation where fiat currency, and I do the air quotes here, fiat is a Latin term which means backed by nothing, essentially. And the only reason fiat currency has value is that government has said it does. So at some point, there's a good chance that currency may be worthless. And if all of a sudden you've got worthless currency, but you've got silver over here and gold over here, and now people realize they need to get it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have increased demand, and the supply hasn't really changed. So you're going to see those prices go up, and you'll be the smart one if you're sitting there in your house knowing that you've got X amount of ounces of either one, hopefully more ounces than just a few, so that you can survive and support your family and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we're not trying to be Chicken Little and say the sky is falling, but it is a prudent move to have some on hand or close at hand, so that in case that happens, that you can benefit from that, as compared to, whatever happens to the people that don't, whether they have to stand in food lines or whatever. But anyway, I'm going off in the weeds. I'll quit rambling. I'll turn it back to you.
I'm sure if Mom was listening, you probably would have lost her at Starbucks.
Probably, yes.
I hope she's not listening now. I don't want to find out what happens when I get back. Yeah, but exactly like that. Gold, they write, the United States Gold Bureau writes that obviously gold is a finite resource. So unlike stocks and like other fiat currency, you can't just artificially create more. There's only so much gold and so much silver in the world. And I mean, sure, we're still finding like bits and pieces of it, but once we have all the gold, that's it. No more is going to be magically created.
Well, and let's put it this way. I mean, we've been using gold for 5,000 years. I mean, both gold and silver. So it's not something that Asa and I just, came up with last week and decided we'd do a show on it. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Jim Wining and I last year at the annual banquet down there on West Battlefield, we're talking about a show just like this, is that, I mean, this is something that's been going on for a long time. And, I mean, there's just all kinds of rationale and history and reasons why this makes sense, is to have a portion of your portfolio in the precious metals like gold and silver.
Mm-hmm. And of course, gold not only being finite, and then of course gold also having the precious value. I mean, since it's a precious resource, as he was talking about, it will always have its value. It is connected to itself because everyone's going to be seeking gold because the precious metals such as gold and silver, I should say. And since gold will always have a demand because of that, because it's precious, and it'll always have a price because people are looking for it. And the demand and price are also always going to have a great amount of value because it's a limited resource. It's always going to be a wise investment. It'll always be worth quite a bit. And that brings us to our last reason why the United States Gold Bureau thinks that millennials should, and younger generations, is what I'd like to say, should invest in gold and silver. Is because that people always want it. So besides being a good investment tool, gold and silver are meaningful. If you think about it, what's the first thing that people that get famous usually do? What happens in the music industry generally whenever somebody gets a lot of exposure, gets some money in their pockets?
They got a gold tooth.
That's right, gold tooth. wait. I was thinking gold chain, but maybe
okay.
a gold tooth as well.
Okay.
That's probably more your generation's guy. How many years ago was that? 100?
Yeah.
When you were born? No, kidding.
They hadn't discovered dirt yet.
Yeah. You made that discovery, right?
Right.
Fantastic. Exactly. People generally invest in gold, right? I mean, what's the highest honor in the Olympics even? The gold medal. Gold is generally what people think of when it comes to having, power and wealth, and actually it has quite a bit of meaning. I always compare it to the color purple. I mean, if you think in ancient times, purple, if you were wearing purple, if you were wearing any kind of purple garb, that was a symbol that you were wealthy and powerful because purple was so rare, and purple was obviously a very standout color. The reason that purple became less rare and less valuable, purple used to be quite expensive, and the reason why it became less expensive is because people were finding more of it. I mean, it's not a finite resource. You can artificially create more purple. Gold, on the other hand, is a finite resource. You can't ever create or find more gold than currently exists in the world. And so whereas purple became less valuable as time went on, even though it used to be this great symbol of wealth and power, gold does the opposite. Gold becomes more valuable because as more people start to want to get their hands on gold and silver, the finiteness of gold and silver does not change. It will, as I keep beating this dead horse again and again and again, I'll swing one more time at it. You cannot find any more, and because of that, it will always have the value it will have will always continue to rise. Well, generally, I need to stipulate it with it tends to, because I can't make a guarantee I can't hold up, but it tends to always rise in value, and so that's why we always find it such a good idea to invest in gold and silver, because you can count on that investment. It's not like fiat currency, like we keep saying, is that it will always have this value. It will always have a demand and a price, and therefore it will always be a wise investment. Or I keep having to say it tends to be like that, because once again, I can't make any guarantees.
Yes.
But I can reliably say it will. But, I don't want to be sued, so. So really, that's where we lead into the big question that I'm certain a lot of Gen Zers have right now, and parents of Gen Zers, is, well, where do I get gold and silver?
I don't know. Where would you get gold and silver?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Tony. There's a number of places that give some people of the younger generation some error. There's a number of issues that they run into. The most notable is they just straight up don't know where to get gold and silver, reliably at least, because think about it. It's literally gold. Like, there's, the term gold digger, right? Like trying to scam somebody for their money.
Mm-hmm.
That can happen in the gold and silver industry as well. I know we've done some business with some that don't seem the most reliable.
Yes, unfortunately.
Yes, and so it's very important that you find a reliable way to get gold and silver. Oftentimes, people of younger generations also don't know where to get gold and silver if they don't want to invest in large quantities. So, Tony, didn't you say that trying to invest in small quantities is often ineffective with many companies?
Sometimes, yeah.
Aren't there, like, fees and stuff?
Well, there's fees and markups and, just all kinds of shipping and, different things that they tack on there. So you may be thinking, oh, I'm getting a really good deal, and you get your ounce of silver or gold or something, and then you look at what its value is, and you realize that you paid a lot more for it than you needed to because of the additional things that have been tacked on there, shipping, whatever.
Absolutely, and that's the issue is with those larger quantities, it doesn't seem to be as big an issue because usually they're going to want to give you more value. But when you're trying to invest in smaller amounts, those fees become a greater percentage of your investment, and therefore they make it much less effective. It makes it much more, a greater percentage of your investment is going towards fees and such. And then oftentimes I, for instance, and other people of my generation don't want to be bound to an investment for an extended period of time. So if you invest in a quantity of large bullion that's hard to liquidate, sometimes it's if I really don't know where my finances are going to go, it's important that I have a way to easily liquidate it. And sometimes it's more difficult with some companies, especially when you're having a bulk sum that you don't like. It's hard to do things with, and that's where 7K Metals comes in. So we talk about this on the show a decent amount, and I just mentioned it a second ago. But a 7K Metals membership does quite a bit to ail these issues. So a physical gold and silver of all shapes and sizes can be to your door at usually less than 2 days in most cases. And what that means is that you can invest in anywhere from like a tiny amount of money, pocket change, to a vast amount, depending on what you want your investment to be. And you know it's going to get there. It's a reliable company, of course. It has great reviews from all the national business review sites and such. And most importantly, it's like you can count on it because you can actually physically find the gold and silver versus some of these companies that say that they're storing it for you. You never really know for sure. And you can get immediate investment. So if you don't want the physical, I like the physical and everything. I have my own physical silver coins, but I personally would rather have a safe and immediate investment that I can immediately see the result of it. We talk about the Sound Money wallet quite a bit, and with the 7K membership, you can change your cash into an investment for gold and silver for free. If you have the 7K membership, it is free to invest any amount of cash into gold or silver. And that's just fantastic. It's not only immediate investment, but you have none of these hidden fees that we talked about. And so we keep saying that we have seen our investment immediately go up. I mean, we saw the other day, right, when you checked it?
Yeah, that was funny. The first transaction we made, Asa was in my office, and I hit the buy button, and we bought some gold and stuff, and then we were talking about the show and a few other things, and he looked at the screen and he says, "You've already made money." Sure enough, because it shows it real time. And sure enough, it had already gone up a couple of cents, and we were like, wow, I didn't know it was going to show the price real time. That's pretty neat.
Absolutely. Just in 6 seconds, you made 5 cents.
What we should do is, because our time's going to be so limited with our guest, why don't we just go ahead and kind of give an intro here for a minute, and then I'll call and get her on the phone, because we just recently met this person. She is with 7K, and she is a silver associate, which means she's been very successful and way up there, in the hierarchy and so forth, I guess you'd call it, food chain. And she has a lot of biblical reasons on why the gold and silver makes sense. And once we found that out, we were so excited to get her on the show and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dial her up. If you could, you carry on. And once I've got Colleen ready, which shouldn't be too long here, let's bring her on and introduce her, and then we will let her work her magic, because she has got some incredible things that I know that I want her to share with all of us.
Absolutely, and I look forward to seeing her. That's actually kind of my incentive of talking about 7K at the end, is because it's a great lead-in into this fantastic resource.
Oh, we got music.
I love it.
Hello.
Colleen.
Hi. Hi. How are you guys?
Good. It's Tony and Asa.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. Good morning. Thank you for the call.
Oh, yeah. We got thousands of listeners here on the edge of their seats wanting to hear your story on 7K, and we haven't taken any wind out of your sails, so.
Oh, that's awesome. So do you want me to just start with how I got into 7K and then kind of go from there?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, awesome. I started February 2nd, 2017. A friend of mine, Diane, I bought some honey from her, and I just happened to ask her what she'd been up to because I knew she was a network marketer in the past. And of course, she said, I'll send you a link. And so I was just like, ugh, I'm going to get roped into her business. But I got home and I looked at it and I was like, and my husband and I had just had a conversation about maybe expanding our portfolio and getting some gold and silver. But we both sat there and go, wow, where would we buy it? Who do we trust? And, what should we buy? And so I was looking at this website and I was like, oh my goodness sakes, this is amazing. I just felt that it was, a divine appointment. And so I called my husband and I said, I just got a website that you can buy gold and silver at dealer direct pricing. We don't have to have a middleman. We get it from direct from the company at their price. And so I joined and he goes, oh, cool. So what is it? And I said, well, it's some kind of network marketing thing, but I'm not going to do the network marketing part. I'm just going to buy the gold and silver at cost. So he said, cool. So off we went. Well, then a couple weeks later, Pastor Sharon called us, a good friend of ours, and said, will you guys mentor me in my finances? Because I think I might have to go to work at Walmart. And when she said that, I just about started crying because
Well,
I'm thinking she's 72 years old.
There
Her
you
Social
go.
Security isn't helping her ends meet. And I'm thinking, that's just wrong. That is just not right. So I told her, I said, Pastor Sharon, I said, we would love to help you. I said, but I just signed up for a company where we can buy gold and silver, but it's also a direct sales where we can create a residual income for you. She goes, well, I don't know anything about network marketing and I surely can't afford gold and silver. And I said, you don't have to buy the gold and silver. Let's just build a business for you that you create residual income so you don't have to worry about ends not meeting. So she said, well, I'll take a look at it and pray about it. So she did and called us back in about a week or so. And she said, well, let's try it and see what happens. And so I called 7K and I told them, I said, here's what I'm doing. I'm really not sure what I'm doing, but we're going to do this together for 1 year. We have a membership for a year. And within 2 weeks, we were creating a $500 paycheck for Pastor Sharon every week. And so I was totally excited about that because now I knew, even though with zero experience, no knowledge about gold and silver, I could change people's lives one person at a time with 7K metals. And so that's what excited me about 7K metals. Not that I got to buy gold and silver at cost, but that I could go help the widows, the least, the last, and the lost, and the orphans create an income that would keep them out of poverty. And so I'm passionate about that. And that's my mission in life, is to go out and share 7K metals with people that may be living on Social Security that can't make ends meet, or they're a single mom and they just are working 2 and 3 jobs, or whatever their circumstances are. I believe that if we can get 7K metals in that home, even if it's $500 a month, it will change their lifestyle.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You said 500 a week, and I almost put it in then. I'm glad I didn't. But, correct me if I'm wrong, 500 a week adds up to $2,000 a month?
Yes,
Ha
exactly.
That's kind of neat.
Doesn't sound too bad.
That's life-changing. Absolutely life-changing
Yeah.
to a lot of people.
We talk about
And I mean, and it was even for me and my husband. He was still works a job, and I wasn't working, but I was like, should I go to work? Should I help with it? And when I saw this, like I said, I was like, I don't want to do network marketing. I suck at it. But this, because I don't see it as network marketing. I see it as an opportunity to help people create their own economic system. It was a no-brainer for me.
Well, and when we talked the first time, Colleen, I know that both Ace and I really like some of your references to the Bible. I mean, this radio or media group is owned by a ministry and stuff like that. And if you're okay with it, can you mention a few of those?
Oh, sure. I would love to. Once I kind of learned about what 7K metals was and what it was all about, I just really, because my husband and I are faith-based, and so everything I do, I line it up with scripture. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness. I said, Jesus was the first network marketer in the world, because he could have done it by himself and God would have sent him out into the world just as his purpose was. But he said, nope, I want 12 disciples. So he gets 12 disciples, he trains them and sends them out. So what are we doing today? We are duplicating what Jesus and his disciples did. We're taking the word of God and taking it out to people. We get to do that with 7K Metals. Now we get to not only be disciples of the Lord, but we also help them financially with 7K Metals. They're also set up to bring into, so God set up Noah's Ark, bringing the animals in 2 by 2. When we sign up for 7K Metals, we go get 2 people and we help them, and then we go get 2 people and we keep duplicating that, so it's 2 by 2. So I absolutely love it if I can line it up. And of course, gold and silver is God's money. He created it. It comes from the earth. And then what was my other one that I did? I think it's exciting when 7 streams of income. So if people are working 2 jobs and they've got some businesses and whatnot, and if they're maybe have 2 or 3 streams of income, scripturally we're supposed to have 7 streams of income. So doing an at-home business with gold and silver, that just made sense to us to do 7K Metals and create another stream of income.
What?
And so, Colleen, when you said the 7 streams of income was present in the Bible, I don't know, I kind of raised my eyebrow at that. So I did my own research, and sure enough, I mean, I was really shocked that I just had never seen this line. If you go to if you go to Ecclesiastes 11:2, you'll see it says this is the verse. It says, "Invest in 7 ventures. Yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land." So, I mean, you're right there. It's mentioning the 7 or 8 streams of income that the Bible recommends, which, I mean, honestly, as much as we've been talking about like finances and stuff, I can't believe I have never even seen this verse. So that's, I mean.
Yeah, it's, and that's what's so great about the Word of God. I look at it as a diamond, and every time we go into something in life, he just turns that diamond and we see it in a different way and we understand it in a different way. And that next facet just looks like 3D to me. It's like, okay, I'm studying here. Let me just turn it a little tiny bit. Now, all of a sudden, we're getting a different revelation, a different impression on what we're supposed to do as disciples of Christ.
Well, and I know from my past, when I've had all my eggs in one basket, in other words, one job, and it was, even when it was, nice 6-figure salaries and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's when I usually had my biggest heartache, is when that job would end, sometimes unexpectedly, like in 08. It was like, okay, what do I do now?
Right. Yes.
So.
Right. And now we've got people scrambling to feed kids and wives and husbands and payments and, just trying to manage life. But if you set yourself up biblically, I really believe that it's going to be a successful life. My background, I came from, my father was an alcoholic, and I can go through all that, stuff there. But I found myself as a single mom, homeless, and that scared me to death. And I thought, I need to do something different. And so I really started seeking out who God was, and I became, I was born again, and I got involved in a church in Great Falls, Montana, and I flourished, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then when I started reading Jeremiah 29:11, that he has plans for me, it blew my mind that somebody was absolutely on my side. And to see today that with 7K Metals, 2.5 years later, I've created a 6-figure income. I've got amazing children and grandchildren. I cannot do anything except give God the glory, period.
Wow, that's an amazing testimony. And I think back to some of the slides in our one presentation we have, where I guess 44% of the Americans, if they had a $400 emergency expense, would not be able to cover it. They'd have to rely on credit cards or selling something or borrowing money. I mean, however they would, beg, borrow, and steal type of thing. But I mean, that just blows my mind that 44, and that was back in 17. I mean, think about what it may be now.
Is with COVID, exactly. Exactly.
And I just read
probably raised.
Well, I read an article this morning where a lot of this $600 a week unemployment is about ready to wind down here once we get to July. So there's
Right.
going to be a lot of folks that are going to be, hurting as far as cash flow. And on the flip side, I've seen a lot of articles where, the city utilities or the mortgage company are at the end of their rope where they're like, okay, we're no longer going to forgive,
Mm-hmm.
non-payment and stuff. So you got two powerful things kind of coming together, and I don't see a good outcome unless somebody, you know,
Right.
takes
Comes
and
up.
yeah.
Yep. 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 And I think that's the beauty of 7K metals, because they really teach us how to create that sound money, that private wealth. So in the event of a catastrophe, you're okay. I love the book too, because it teaches you to hedge against poor government decisions and potential economic collapse. We don't know if that's ever going to happen. It might happen in our lifetime. It might happen in our kids' lifetime. We don't know. But with 7K metals, if we do this business and create that private wealth, we not only protect ourselves, but we protect generational wealth. And so to me, that was huge, because again, I go back to, I was a single mom, homeless, and all of a sudden really have nothing to offer my children. But today I get to leave them a legacy, not only God's legacy, but something that is actually absolutely tangible for them, to help them through any kind of a catastrophe. So I always tell people, you have car insurance in case somebody totals your car, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you also have house insurance in case your house burns down and you have some kind of catastrophe that you've got to have some sort of insurance. But do you have a financial insurance plan? And most people will say no. And then I'll go, 7K metals is just that, because it will help you be in a position to where if something does happen financially, you can fall back on gold and silver. If you look at the history of gold and silver, nobody has lost their entire estate or funds or income or whatever you want to call it if they own some portion of gold and silver, because they have that to fall back on. Because from the day one, gold and silver has always been used for transactions.
Hey, Colleen, in the remaining time we've got with you, and I know your time is limited this morning and so forth, but you and I were talking a little bit about different ministries that have included 7K metals in their ministry, so that their followers could take part and do some fundraising and stuff. Do you got just a little thought on that you can share with everybody?
Yes, I do, and that's exciting too, because I look at a church and they're based, and their survival is on tithing most of the time, or fundraisers to create a stream of income for them, which all those things are great aspects of the church. But if the church comes in and say they sign up to be a part of, they create their own business. Okay. Now they get to offer that business to their congregants. And if their congregants see the vision of 7K metals, but not only the vision for 7K metals, but a vision to be purposeful for the church's life longevity, then now they're doing two functions in their church. They're creating a better tithing, because once they start creating income with 7K metals, their tithing goes up. Then now the church can be almost self-sufficient within its own business, creating another stream of income. Can you imagine what that's going to do to the widows and the orphans and the least and the last and the lost for a church?
Oh,
To me,
yeah.
that is mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, I think you're absolutely right and stuff, because my wife and I have belonged to a couple churches, and it's always interesting how the leadership has different fundraising tasks or pledge cards or what have you and stuff like that, and it just seems like this would be one of those real organic, natural ways to not only would the, as you call them, the congregants benefit, but definitely that particular ministry.
Right. It's a win-win all the way around. Everybody wins, because not just the church is creating a stream of income, but everybody within that church can have the option to opt in with 7K metals, supporting the church in the fact that, because we are network marketing, so then now they're supporting the church, but they also get to create their own business under that umbrella to create their own stream of income. So to me, it's just a win-win all the way around. And I think it's phenomenal that we get to use and be a part of other businesses and churches to help people create those streams of income in the event of a major catastrophe in our society. We're kind of already feeling it with COVID a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Hey, surprise question. I know you don't know this one's coming, so I'll apologize in advance. But and I told you we'd be done at 9:45, and here it is 9:46. But I've got to find out, just for my own peace of mind. I'm always talking about how there's 9 major benefits of being a 7K member. And maybe there's more, but I'm just going from that one piece of information we've got there in the back office. In your opinion, of all the benefits you get from being in the buyers club, so to speak, the 7K membership, which one, if you can put a finger on it, which one is the most important?
Oh gosh. Well, the top of my list is, it's not in here. Well, it might be, because I really have a passion to help people. So at the end of their book, they say, the question is, will you join us in our mission to change the world? And when I close my meetings, I always repeat that, will you join us in our mission to change the world? But changing that world only has to be one person at a time. And so to me, that makes it doable for anybody. But the benefits, I think there's a trillion of them. And I think for me, the most important thing is creating that residual income. Again, I refer back to Pastor Sharon. I explained to her, I said, Pastor Sharon, Jay and I can support you with a paycheck every month. But if something happens to Jay and I, and we go away, we go to heaven, and God takes us home together, your income will deplete, because now you don't get a tithe from us. But with 7K Metals, because we're supporting you within 7K Metals, if we go away, my business is a legacy, and it will go on for generations. She will continually be supported by Jay and I for the rest of her life. So to me, I think that's the biggest benefit of 7K Metals, is that it is a generational wealth, and people, even though we pass away, it will continue on. I love the generational wealth of it.
Well, and ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking to Colleen Lee. She's a 7K Metals Silver Associate. You can probably Google her and all that kind of stuff. I just got a 4-minute sign from Mr. Matt, our producer. So, Colleen, we're going to let you go. Thank you so much. We are so grateful for you joining us this morning, and I'm sure we'll talk, somewhere in the future and stuff. But thank you so very, very much.
Absolutely.
It was a pleasure to have you,
guys.
Colleen.
Yes, thank you so much, and you guys have a blessed day, okay?
You too. Thank you so much.
All
Bye-bye.
right, thanks.
All righty. So we've got 4 minutes. What do you want to do?
All right. Well, I think that was fantastic that she was talking about generational wealth, because not only does 7K Metals itself help you have income for that, but it also, gold and silver itself is useful for that, as we talked about. Just wanted to get that out real quick before we rush through the rest of our stuff.
Matt, do you want to do a public service announcement in one of the...
You go ahead.
Oh, you're okay?
Yeah, I'm in the process of looking for something.
He's looking for something. I don't know. He's looking under tables. He's just doing all kinds of crazy things.
Well, while you find the where the precious metals are at right now, real quickly, I just wanted to finish my last thought on why 7K Metals helps you solve those problems. Also, like immediate investments, pretty immediate liquidation as well, because it's easy to liquidate things that are in mint condition. But also, that we were just talking about actual gold and silver investment through 7K. You also have, as Colleen was saying, the business side of it, where you can have some funds you can count on, income you can count on as you go through whatever other stage of your life it is. Like, I currently don't have the wherewithal to focus my efforts completely on any specific venture, but I can have 7K Metals in my back pocket as I go through school to help support me in something that I can work on with my spare time, as opposed to a full-time commitment that would be, like, as Tony said, the only stream of income, and then something you can't count on as much.
Well, and just real quick, we obviously skipped the reading and stuff like that. We'll be back to that next week. But one thing is the pricing. As of 9:49 this morning, gold's at $1,776.40. Silver's at $17.83. Now, these are by ounces. These are the precious metals. Platinum is at $804. Palladium's at 1,959, and rhodium's at 8,000. Copper, there's actually an article I saw this morning because of some of the things that's happened with this COVID-19 and different things that have become more popular in their usage and stuff. Copper may, be going up a little bit. But anyway, this morning it's at $2.66 a pound. These next few prices are by pound. Nickel's at $5.67, aluminum 71 cents, zinc is 92 cents, lead is 80 cents, and uranium is $32.85. Oil's up to $39.03 a barrel, and so far this morning the Dow Jones Industrial Average is off 435 points at 25,721. So as Asa said, really to open up the show, when you look at some of the traditional investments like stocks and bonds, we're still in a very volatile time. There's a lot of push and shove going on as far as the economy and the after effects and current effects from COVID-19. So be cautious, be wise, and may there always be a silver lining in your investment portfolio.
Absolutely, I love that. If you're interested in 7K Metals and want to check out more, be sure to go to 7kmetals.com/ASA, ASA, or 7kmetals.com/Tony Hammock. Both of us would be happy to see you and happy to work with you.
Yes, thank you so much for viewing this morning. Before we go, let me just real quick give a plug to Jim and Pam Whining. They kind of make this whole thing possible and stuff, and then Dr. Paul Collins, because they are a huge influence for us, and obviously the Acts Ministry. So thank you very much, guys. We sure appreciate your help. And with that, I think we are over. Have a good one. Enjoy the day.
Thank you very much, and take care.
Okay, need to get Matt.
Ah, yes. They get to see the behind the scenes a little bit.
Why don't you go get Matt and
I will go
tell him we need to close things down.
Oh, no. Say bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Sorry.